We got some good news about the US national debt, and then we got some not so good news about the national debt. And spoiler alert, some of this has to do with Trump's tariffs, and some of it has to do with the US national debt as a whole. So we're going to go into some of the good news and some of the bad news about the national debt. But before we do, my name is Rick. I hope you turn daily news into daily profits. If that's something you're into, make sure you follow this page. It was announced today that so far this year, the U.S. deficit has dropped by 2.2%, which is a great thing because we know that the U.S. is drowning in debt and it only seems to get worse. And since Congress and the United States government decided to pass the One Big Beautiful Bill, we already know this guy's going to add a whole lot more debt to what we already have. So let's just say that getting news like the national deficit is actually going down is a welcome surprise. But how exactly is it going down, and what's the bad news in all of this? The article says that the U.S. budget deficit ticks slightly lower this year, but it's still massive. The Treasury says the government ran a $1.78 trillion shortfall in fiscal year 2025, about $41 billion or 2.2% less than last year. So what helped us save 2.2%? Well, we can see that it's the record-breaking tariff revenue. It says that President Trump's tariffs brought in about $200 billion. That's a more than 140% jump from 2024, offsetting some of the pain from skyrocket interest payments on America's $38 trillion worth of national debt. And then it goes on to say that the government's fiscal year ended in September and the U.S. collected $5.2 trillion in revenue and spent just over $7 trillion. So it appears that the tariffs are actually doing their job, albeit we are paying a little bit more as consumers. So now what's the bad news in all of this? Well, we can see that just the interest costs on our national debt alone hit a new record, which is $1.2 trillion. So what that means is that we're actually paying back $1.2 trillion worth of interest just on the national debt alone. And then it closes out by saying that the bottom line is we're looking at a slightly smaller deficit, record tariff revenue, and record interest cost. A fiscal picture that's improving on paper, but is still deep in the red. I guess Trump's tariffs are doing their intended purpose. The fact that we're paying $1.2 trillion worth of interest alone on our national debt is a serious issue.